So these videos have been showing up on the internet. I think the oldest one is like 8 months. I'm not sure. But I've seen them pop up before. And I always mean to snag them, but I don't. This time I did. Showed up on a poll thread. What it is basically is, and I'm gonna show you some of them here. People, what appears to be, they're seeing something, and after they see this thing, they die. Now the deaths usually come from some kind of cardiac problem. Reminds me of the biblical thing about men's hearts will fail, you know? It's like that. It reminds me of that. So what happens is, I mean, you're probably seeing it now. It looks like they're swatting at something. Now, people have pointed out that this is some kind of demonic thing, that these people have had the jibber jabber, they've had it, and therefore their souls can be claimed, and that's what's happening, is that they're coming to pull their soul out or take their soul out. I don't know about that, and I don't know how you could what is that word? What is that simple fucking word I'm looking for? Verify that whether they had the jibber jabber or not. I mean, I don't know. These are just kind of anonymous videos. One of them I can't show because even though, you know, these people die, it's not apparent from these clips. But there's one dude that does the spinning around thing and falls under a train. So I can't really show that one. But yeah, it certainly looks like they're seeing something. Now, what I was thinking about is what you see is on your frequency. The reason me and these people can see the sidewalk is because we can tune into this frequency. When you're in your body, when you're in the bodysuit, you only have a very small band of frequency that you can perceive and that you can interact with. I'm on the same frequency as the phone I'm holding, and therefore, you know, I can hold it. Now, for them to be able to interact with something on another frequency, that would have to be something that allowed their bodies to perceive a frequency outside the ones that we can. Because when you're looking at it, like, we can't see anything. It looks like there's nothing going on. You know, it looks just like they're just like swatting at air. So to do that, if you wanted to do that, I think they possibly would have to they would have to make it so that your DNA would be affected. They have to do something with your DNA. Now, there's a lot of talk and speculation and information out there about how the jabber affects your DNA, or can affect you. At first they were saying, no, it doesn't. Now they're saying, well, it does, but that's a good thing. As that, you know how they do that? Like, you know, you will own nothing, and you will be happy, or you will eat the bugs, and that's a good thing. Like, you know, these Khazarian media people. So, yeah, so now they're like admitting to some of it, but it's like a slow drip. But I think it's pretty evident that is, as far as the messing with the DNA, that is something that is quite possibly happening. So in that way, they could change it so that it opens them up to perceive a different frequency. In the case of, say, these are demons. Demons, you can't see here. The only way they can interact with you is when they go into a person's body. You know, like the interactions I've talked about. And the reason is because, as I said, the body it has a certain band of frequencies it can see and it can interact with. So when they go into it, then they can interact with us here. But otherwise, you can't see them, you can't hear them, they're incorporeal. What's going on over here? Oh, okay. So yeah, I just had I was just doing an assessment. I had my security system was doing a loading thing, like loading, buffering. So yeah, I mean, is that what's happening? I don't know. Could be. It seems like it because they look terrified. Like it looks like they're seeing things that are scary. You know, by the looks on their faces. And again, it makes me think of the biblical men's hearts will fail type of thing. You know, God just dropped the cup. But and it looks like their hearts are failing. Now, the thing about these videos is that I've noticed is when they show up on Paul, the shilling goes into overdrive. Like, and the thing about Paul too, and I'm going to make a separate video about it if you ever go there. And it's not as good as it used to be, but I mean, you can still get some good information there. I'm more of an X person myself, but I check Paul just to keep up with the news. So the thing about Paul is there's just so many shills now, and there are ways that you can figure out. To me, like, I just see them. I know. I can tell by the way they write. But there are certain posts that they use to mark the, well, I don't need to make a fucking video, but I can tell you right now. When they want to mark a post for themselves to look at, one of the things they do a couple things. One of the things is they sneed post. You know, it's a subtle joke, but that whole thing, they're the only ones doing that now. And what it does is it tags that thread because there's something in it they want to control or they want to monitor or look at. Then when they begin threads themselves, a lot of times they'll use these, what has been come to be known as corrupted Pepe images. Well, they'll have Pepe, but the thing, if you look at the image real close, there'll be little digital markers on it, and usually you can tell by, if you look to the eye, all the way to the right of the eye, there are these little lines that come down, and these digital markers are so they can read them, so they can return to these threads. They begin these threads, the Pepe ones, and I've noticed that too. Like just over the past year, I mean, people have always frog posted, but it's usually you're trying to put something rare up or something interesting or a different kind of thing. Over the past couple years, especially, there's so many threads that start with just a regular, like, Pepe on a white background. You know, like just your average stock, like, no real people are posting, like, why? There's so many other things you could do. So right away, you know that's like a slide thread. And, I mean, I've taken pictures of the board, taking screenshots of the board when there'll be like 4 of these up at one time. Just they're the same diameter, and if you look at the file, it's like the same size. They're all but they're like standard size, just a square with you know, the Pepe image, but it's always something generic or mundane, just like his face, or like one of only a couple different expressions. And like I said, you can, there's digital markers on it. There's some that have dots by the mouth, 2 little dots. I'll try to find these and put them up on the screen. But you generally, if you see a thread that starts with just a square Pepe image, and, you know, do Americans really? And it's always some fucking thing that no one cares about. Just some kind of, it's a slide thread, because sometimes there'll be something happening that's kind of significant, and of course they want to control it. So what they do is they'll put all these fucking slide threads up, you know? So those are a couple things. There's a bunch of them, but they're so active now. It's like the, you know, the who's doing who situation. It's like you don't know what the, so it's really hard to get good information Or at least you can get good information, but not at the speed or frequency that you used to be able to. You know, you could pop on and just look around and get a feel for kind of what's happening. And now there's just so many of these like show threads, and anytime something interesting does happen, you'll see someone do the sneed. And then as soon as you see that, you know that they've marked that thread. Now this isn't always, but I'm going with 90%. It could be real anons, but if they are, they lack imagination, or they're new. You know what I mean? They're too new. It's just not what it used to be. It's not the same place anymore. It's just, I mean, it's almost like gotten to be like Reddit here. They leave X alone though. Like X kind of, you know, I hardly ever see any shilling on X, unless it's like something that touches on something they don't want you talking about. And but they use a lot of different methods on X than they do on a place like Pulse. Now, I don't know a lot about the other boards. Like, the only other ones I go to occasionally is the toy one, the comics one, and TV. But that's it. I was never like a B guy or fit or anything like that. I just never... There's enough to look at on X alone, you know? But whenever this thread pops up, and I've only seen it a couple times, I think the one I harvested these videos from is only the second time I think I've seen a thread about this. They're all over it. They're all over it, like big time. And what they'll try to do is they try to take the conversation away from what you're talking about, and they'll post to each other a bunch of crap just to get the you know, the bread at maximum capacity, just to get it off, you know. So there's something to it. I mean, these things didn't exist before. We've never seen anything like this until recently. I mean, this is a recent phenomenon. I mean, we would have seen, if it were around, if it did exist before, you know, we would have seen it, like almost, I would think, as soon as it happened, because it's so strange and it's so specific, and people they move the exact same way, they look the exact same way. Some of them are swatting at something. It's like, what it reminds me of, it's almost like Raiders of the Lost Ark at the end when they open the Ark, and the soldiers, when those spirits are like swirling around them, and they're standing in place, spinning around, like looking at them. It reminds me of that. The Economist also had an issue. I don't know when it came out. It's in the past few years, where they show spinning people, and there's a few other instances of that too. You know, now again, this could be predictive programming, but it could also just be the system itself, like the beast system working through these things, as it is leaky and tends to spread itself out through this stuff, and it works through people, so they might not even know why they're putting certain images out or certain things out. It's just, it's beyond us. It's a force that works, you know, on its own time, which is no time. They don't work with time. They work outside time. This force and a lot of its higher minions work outside of time, which means they have a way to move outside of this frequency, this dimension. Apparently, spun Mercury and Huon Purple are two components to this spell, really, that can move you outside of it, until it doesn't exactly, I guess, put you in another dimension or a different frequency, but you're in a adjacent bubble, I guess, from what I've learned and understand. You know, I know how this all sounds. It's okay. That's how all this stuff sounds. But what's happening here is, I mean, it's a real thing. You know, we're looking at it. So yeah, I'm definitely keeping an eye on it if I see it pop up again. And the fact that they shut it down so quick is quite a tell. These fucking guys, it's like so many of us like could probably go to work for them and make them so much more efficient, you know, because you can see their mistakes, and even the way they write, the words they use are are a little bit out of date. It's almost like a lot of them still write like it's 2016. They use a lot, and there's a lot of anger there, and there's a lot of ad hominem, and they jump to like neckbeard, incel, touch grass. Like there's a lot of anger there. They're just so easy to spot. Lately, it's like when I'm on there, I don't post all that much, but when I do, it's just I feel like I just go on there and just mess with them. And then I go on to X and I try to share some stuff I know and try to pick up some new stuff, which I don't very often. You know, in fact, there's some people on there that's like, they don't know what they're talking about, but they're so confident in their ignorance. It's funny. It's funny. You got to know what you don't know. I'm always looking to learn. I'm always looking to find stuff that I don't know. I mean, I think that's what the pursuit should be when you're talking about X kind of subjects. But there's a lot of guys on there. It's just like, why would you do that? Like, why would you go on there and LARP? Like, what kind of mindset is that? It's not doing anything. You're anonymous anyway. It's not like you're getting any kind of, I don't know. I don't know why people do what they do, but that board is certainly degraded too. But it's still the best place to go. I mean, it's, you know, there's nothing better. There isn't anything better. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.